Good evening, I'm DK Roster. Welcome back to the TTT News. And this is part 2 of a conversation with CCoTT, the CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. We are speaking with Convener Terry Ince and the Director of Communications, Crystal Roberts. And we were able to give a nice long context, some history, the 5 objectives that you work with. And, you know, sometimes you can be involved in something, Crystal, but people don't realize, but wait now, they were the people doing that, or they were involved in that. So for the benefit of individuals like myself who may be wondering, what are some of the past projects that you've been involved in?
Yes, we have done quite a lot. And I could go back, I could take you back to 2018. We did a workshop, Collaborate for Impact, is what we called it, where we invited several stakeholders to come together. And it was in partnership with the Institute of IGDS, Institute of Gender and Development Studies at UWI. We had the Equal Opportunities Commission and a number of other stakeholders. We partnered with the Ministry of the Attorney General, Gender and Child Affairs Division at the Office of the Prime Minister, and we came together to look at the CEDAW Convention and where we are. How is the implementation process going? Are there any gaps? What are the gaps to be filled? What are the things that are missing, and how we can come together to continue and push that implementation process. So we divided ourselves into groups and we had a discussion. We also, I must not leave out the civil society organization, just human rights defenders, basically coming together and looking at where we are at as a country, as a state, and where is CEDAW at in the implementation process. That is one of them. We also did what we call a South-to-South cooperation between CCoTT, or organization, the Women Human Rights Institute. We had the Foundation for Justice and Gender out of Costa Rica, and we had participants from as far as Malawi, Trinidad and Tobago, Costa Rica, where we had a workshop where we trained young human rights activists, advocates about the CEDAW Convention. What is human rights? How can we advocate for the implementation of the CEDAW Convention? It was definitely a beautiful, beautiful 7 days. It was held at the UWI St. Augustine. We occupied part of the IGDS department, and we saw a lot of positive things coming out there. And I could go on further if you would like me to.
But one of the things. Oh, Terry, is that you jumping in there?
No, that was Crystal continuing.
Okay, because one of the things I want to ask a question about the word and the idea behind partnership, because when you all speak, partnership seems to be a key word.
Yeah.
How important is partnership, and what kind of partners do you seek to carry work forward?
Great question, DK. Yes, collaboration and partnership is vital to the work that we do. It's vital because no one organization can do it all. No one organization has all the answers. We recognize that very, very early in the work that we do. In order for us to be successful, we have to bring all people together, all stakeholders together. Everyone has a role to play. We emphasize that. No role is too small. So we reach out to every stakeholder, public sector, private sector, academia, other civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, our brothers and sisters in Tobago, so that we are reaching far and wide and hearing from everyone, and then working together to implement, so we're addressing the needs of as many people as possible. So partnership is critical to us. However, I want to add at this stage that we are not funded by the government, so we do not receive a subvention. We are all volunteers, so none of us work. We don't get salaries. Most of us are employed outside of this voluntary work that we do, which means that every initiative that we go forth with, we have to we have to somehow come up with the funds to do it, and that's where the private sector play a major role, as well as the international funders, so that we have partnered with. So to add on to Crystal's highlights of some of the initiatives we've taken so far, let's just look at the Collaborate for Impact as an example. We did the first one in 2018, and it was followed by part 2 in 2019. And those two collaborative exercises or initiatives were directly related to the CEDAW review that was done in 2016. Out of that review, as you recall, I said earlier, there were specific concluding observations or recommendations that would have been made to the government by the CEDAW committee in Geneva. So the reason for us to do that collaboration, or to hold that workshop in 2018 and bring all of the stakeholders together, was to have the stakeholders tell us what types of progress has been made since those recommendations came out in 2016 and to when we held the first workshop in 2018. That was then followed by a part 2 of that workshop in 2019. And then in last year, 2020, we combined the research information that was gleaned from those 2 workshops, and we created something called GBV 101, a survey, which we then implemented that survey for over 500 persons in Trinidad and Tobago who responded we had a very high percentage of respondents, to have people tell us what they know about gender-based violence. That was the purpose of that survey. And then coming out of that survey, we then did a series that was funded jointly by the British High Commission and the Spotlight Initiative with UNFPA to help people to demonstrate what came out of those 2 workshops. So the review, it was an infographic GBB review that we implemented, we launched on Human Rights Day, and it was carried on social media, both Instagram and Facebook, as well as on our website, demonstrating or highlighting, one, what the recommendation was that was made to the country, 2, what the country has done based on that recommendation in 2016, and 3, what the current gap is. So that's how we build on the work that we do. That is why it is so important for us to partner with others. And we're not overly selective in our partnerships. What we look for is committed people. Committed people. That is what we look for, because we all want the same thing, which is our country to move forward, develop, so that there is equality, non-discrimination, and state accountability.
All right, thank you so much. We take a break at this point in time. We are speaking to CCoTT, the CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. When we return, Crystal, remind me, we're going to get into contact information, so how people can help enlarge the size of that table, because sometimes when you're bringing everybody to the table, you realize the table doesn't necessarily have the space you want. So as opposed to saying, no, you can't come, how are we building a bigger table? But we can discuss that when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with Terry Ince and Crystal Roberts of the CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. And Crystal, how do individuals contact CCoTT to say, okay, well, this is some of my time, talent, or treasure that I'm willing to share with CCoTT?
Treasure, I love that. Treasure.
Yeah. So we have something for everyone. Some people may not like social media, and others, may like it. Some may just like to email or have a call. So we have something for everyone to get into contact with us. We first of all have our Facebook page. Just type in CEDAW Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, and you will see it. We also have a website that it will tell anybody all about the organization. And there is also a link to donate. There is also a link where you could go on to find the CEDAW convention and all the substantive articles. So you have that. And the website is www.CCoTT.org. We have a phone number you can contact Ms. Terry Ince. It's 489-2185. We are also on Instagram for all the Instagram lovers. It's TNT_CEDAW_champs. Let me just say that again, TNT_CEDAW, CEDAW_champs. And you could also hit us up with an email. It's CEDAWcommittee@gmail.com.
All right, thank you so much. Now, April and May 2021, Terry Ince, what does CCoTT have in mind?
Well, this is the crux of our discussion. We've launched on March 29th of March 29, 2021, we launched an initiative that is being funded under the Spotlight Initiative, which I should say is a global partnership between the European Union and the United Nations. And Spotlight Initiative is also working in partnership with the government of Trinidad and Tobago. CCoTT is one of many implementing partners under this initiative, part of civil society, under Pillar 5, which is family violence. So on March 29th, we launched our initiative, which is called Rethinking Violence in Families. So what is this initiative? It's an opportunity for us to work with a select number of organizations, private sector organizations, which we were able to identify through a mapping exercise that we engaged in across Trinidad and Tobago, east, west, north, south, Trinidad and Tobago. We selected 30 organizations that represent different sizes of organizations as well as different industries. And so we have engaged them and offered to them an opportunity to participate in a workshop which will highlight ways in which family violence represents itself or can represent itself at the workplace, and ways and techniques and tools to mitigate it within the workplace. Because the desired outcome is that we will all feel comfortable in our work environment. We like to think that domestic violence is just that. It's something that happens at home. But we do know that that is not true, that it does follow the individuals who are in crisis to the workplace. And so we want persons to be safe. We want them to feel comfortable, even if they're experiencing some type of crisis at home, that they are comfortable when they come to work. If the employee may notice something happening with their fellow employee, they're not as jovial as they normally are, or they're wearing sunglasses at 9 o'clock in the morning in a small room, whatever the indication is, we want people to feel equipped to approach a person or engage in discussion with a person. We want those individuals who may be in crises to feel a sense of security, that they have a safe space, that they can share or ask for help. And we want those who are in positions of authority to be able to make the proper referrals, give the help that is required, so that, again, we're all working at our optimum. Because while domestic violence is under the umbrella of family violence, we do know that it starts in the home more often than not. It follows you wherever you go, whether you're at work, in the supermarket, wherever it is. It can be mitigated in many different ways. We want people to know that there are referral services in Trinidad and Tobago. There are many types of services. We want people to know how to get access to these services. But most importantly, we want people to understand that we all have a role to play in changing the conversation, in changing the culture, in creating the environment that we all want, which is a safe environment for everybody, one that is free of violence, specifically domestic or gender-based violence.
And I want to double down with you a little bit. I want to double down a little bit with you, please, Terry, in the sense that,
yes.
And I love how provocative, in my mind, the fact that rethinking family violence is. So that makes me think that there is some sort of gap. What kind of gap is there? Is there research or evidence showing what some of those gaps are? Or is this anecdotal, subjective? How are you going about getting the information, saying, okay, well, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, so that you can craft that bridge to take us from one place to the other?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's all of the above. It's anecdotal, it is research-based. We do know that 1 in 3 women, based on research that was done not too very long ago, 1 in 3 women globally has had some type of domestic violence or family violence or gender-based violence interaction. This is a global figure. I would suggest that maybe in Trinidad and Tobago, the number may be even smaller. There's research that was done, I believe, in 2015 or thereabouts, maybe even more recently, by the ILO that suggests that that number is a smaller number, maybe 1 in 2 in the region. We do know that violence against women, while violence in general has been decreasing in terms of the numbers that are being reported, we don't know whether that's because less people are reporting based on the fact that they don't feel that they're getting that the services that they need they're receiving, whether it be from our police service or our justice service, our justice sector. So we need to do some research, more research in those areas to understand why those numbers are going down, while we continue to hear of incidences of family violence and gender-based violence and domestic violence. And also, we've not only seen, we know that during COVID that there has been an increase in domestic violence and in gender-based violence. We've also seen the type of violence that's happening in homes, that women are being subjected to, oftentimes, more often than before, ending in femicide or murder. We want to know why that is. And so, again, more research has to be done, obviously, but we also have some facts, some research that we're building upon. We also have anecdotal storytelling, because people would speak on what they have experienced. But the opportunity is here for us to create that space for people to be able to say, yes, this is happening to me. This is what I recognize as happening. And now that I know that this is what it's called, now I know what I can do about it. And those people may not only be the survivor or the victim/survivor, that may also be the perpetrator. The perpetrator may not even be aware that what they're inflicting on their loved one is some form of violence. And so they may have the opportunity now to start rethinking what they're doing. It may have been, this is what I've always seen in my household. This is what I thought love was. This is what love is supposed to look like. This is me being the breadwinner. This is, as a breadwinner, I have the authority or the privilege to do these things. I'm entitled to do these things as the breadwinner.
And I like the fact that you speak about information, Terry, but with that, with the last 30 seconds, what happens to the information coming out of these workshops? Crystal, you have the last 30 seconds to give us an idea of that, because it's a small amount of people relatively that were invited. What happens with the information after?
Right, so the information is taken, it's looked into, it is assessed, and we as an organization now go on in our implementation process and how we could partner, especially because partnering is one of our biggest activities, in partnering with specific and various stakeholders to change, to have behavior change, and to have the substantive articles of the CEDAW Convention implemented, because domestic violence is a serious issue. And just to continue from what Terry is saying, rethinking family violence is an important term or title given in this project, simply because our recommendations that was given to us in 2016 and the CEDAW Committee in Geneva speaks to eliminating traditional attitudes concerning things like domestic violence.
And my attitude right now, Crystal, is that I wish we had a part 3. We will see what happens with it, but thank you very much, Crystal Roberts and Terry Ince, for making the time and putting in the work. And on behalf of the entire news team, I'm DK Roster. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.